The world was quiet now. It was a deep, sad silence. Before, there were cars, and music, and people laughing. Now, the only sound was the wind. The wind blew through the broken skeletons of tall buildings. It was a cold wind, and it carried a strange, gray snow. This was the world after the Great War. It was a nuclear war. The leaders of the world were angry, and they used terrible bombs. The bombs sent huge clouds of dust and ash into the sky. These clouds covered the sun. Without the sun's warmth, the earth became cold and dark. Scientists called it a nuclear winter. In this cold, quiet world, a young woman named Maya was alive. She was a survivor. Every day was the same. Every day was hard. She had to find food, clean water, and a safe place to sleep. One morning, Maya woke up in her small shelter. It was the basement of an old, ruined library. It was cold, but it protected her from the gray snow and the biting wind. She was hungry. Her last can of beans was empty. Today, she needed to find more food. She put on her thick coat, a warm hat, and gloves. She wrapped a scarf around her face. The air outside was not just cold, it was dangerous. It carried something called radiation from the bombs. You could not see it or smell it, but it could make you very sick. Maya walked out into the silent city. The snow was not white and beautiful like the snow from her memories. It was gray and dirty with ash. It covered everything like a sad gray blanket. The streets were full of empty, rusted cars. Paper and plastic moved like ghosts in the wind. She walked carefully. The old buildings were dangerous. Sometimes, pieces of them would fall without warning. She moved from the shadow of one broken building to the next. Her destination was an old supermarket on the other side of the city square. It was a long walk, but she knew there were still some cans of food there if you looked hard enough. As she walked, she looked at the world around her. Everything was gray, black, and brown. There were no colors. The trees were black sticks with no leaves. There were no birds in the sky. There were no animals running in the streets. This was the hardest part for Maya. She missed the color green. She missed seeing flowers and green grass. She missed the sound of birds singing in the morning. She reached the supermarket. The big glass doors were broken. Inside, it was dark and cold. The shelves were empty. People took all the food in the first weeks after the bombs fell. But Maya knew that sometimes things fell under the shelves or were hidden in the back. She used her flashlight to look around. She walked down an aisle. A can of soup was on the floor, under a broken shelf. She picked it up. It was dented, but it was not open. It was good. She put it in her backpack. This was a good day. In another aisle, she found something else. It was not food. It was a small, pink teddy bear. It was dirty, and one of its button eyes was gone. She picked it up and held it. Suddenly, a memory came to her. It was a memory from before. It was a sunny day in a park. Her little sister Lily was running on the green grass, laughing. Lily had a teddy bear just like this one. Maya remembered her sister's happy face. She remembered the warmth of the sun and the bright blue sky. Tears came to Maya's eyes. She held the teddy bear close. She remembered the day the sky turned bright with fire. She remembered the loud sounds and the ground shaking. Her parents told her to run to the basement. She never saw them or Lily again. The memory was painful, but it also gave her strength. She survived for them. She had to keep living. She put the small bear carefully into her backpack, next to the can of soup. It was a reminder of what was lost, but also a reason to keep going. After an hour, she found 2 more cans, peaches and beans. Her backpack was heavy now. It was time to go back to her shelter. As she walked across the empty city square, she saw something strange. Smoke. It was coming from the chimney of a small building a few streets away. It was thin, gray smoke, but it was real. Maya's heart started to beat fast. Smoke meant fire, and fire meant a person. In 2 years, she had not seen another living person. She was scared. Were they friendly? Or were they dangerous? In this world, some people did bad things to survive, but she was also lonely. The silence of the world was heavy. The idea of hearing another person's voice was like a dream. She decided to be careful. She walked toward the smoke, but she stayed. In the shadows, she moved slowly and quietly. She got closer to the building. It was an old bookstore. She looked through a broken window. Inside, there was a small fire in a metal barrel. A man was sitting next to it. He was older than her, with a gray beard and a kind face. He was reading a book. Maya watched him for a long time. He just sat there, reading. He did not look dangerous. She took a deep breath. She was tired of being alone. She stepped out of the shadows and knocked on the door frame. The man jumped. He looked scared. He stood up and held a piece of metal pipe like a weapon. "Who are you?" he asked. His voice was rough. "My name is Maya," she said softly. "I saw the smoke. I am alone." The man looked at her. He saw her thin face and her old clothes. He saw she was not a threat. He slowly put the pipe down. "My name is Ben," he said. "Come in. It is cold outside." Maya walked into the bookstore. The small fire was warm. It was the warmest she had been in a long time. "Are you hungry?" Ben asked. He pointed to a small pot near the fire. "I have some soup. It's not much." Maya nodded. She opened her backpack and took out the can of soup she found. "I have this," she said. "We can share." A small smile appeared on Ben's face. "Thank you," he said. They sat together by the fire and shared the soup. For the first time in years, Maya did not eat alone. They talked. Ben was a teacher before the war. He loved books. That's why he chose the bookstore for his home. Maya told him about her family and her life in the library basement. They were different, but they understood each other's loneliness and fear. They understood the struggle to survive. That night, they decided to work together. It was safer. It was better. In the weeks that followed, life was still hard, but it was not as lonely. Ben was good at fixing things. He fixed a small radio, and sometimes they could hear old music. Maya was good at finding things. She knew the city well. She found more food, blankets, and medicine. One day, they decided to try something new. Ben found a book about gardening. In the back of the bookstore, there was a small walled garden. It was protected from the wind. They decided to try to grow food. They found some old packets of seeds in a hardware store. Carrots, potatoes, and beans. They worked for days. They cleared the gray snow. They brought clean soil from a park far away. They built a small cover with old plastic sheets to keep the plants warm. It was hard work. They did not know if it would work. But one morning, Maya went to check the garden, and she saw it. A small green shoot was pushing up through the dark soil. It was tiny. It was fragile. But it was green. She stared at it for a long time. It was the first new life she had seen in years. It was a small, green sign of hope in a world of ash and silence. She ran back inside. "Ben, come quick," she shouted. Ben ran out, worried. He saw her pointing at the ground. He looked down and saw the tiny green plant. His eyes filled with tears. They stood there for a moment, two survivors in a broken world, looking at a small symbol of a new beginning. Life was still a struggle. The world was still cold and dangerous. But now, they had each other, and they had a small, green bit of hope. The story of Maya and Ben is a sad one, but it is also a story about human strength. It teaches us about the terrible consequences of war. It is a call for peace. It reminds us that we must work together to prevent such a future from ever happening. We must protect our world, its colors, its sounds, and its life. We must choose cooperation and understanding, not conflict and destruction, to make sure our world always stays bright and full of hope.